veil is thin where the ages collide. Engine dust dancing in a pillar of fire. I stand on the edge of the great divide, hearing the roar of a celestial choir.
The constellations are shifting the gates, watching the dawn of a kingdom come through the silver mist and the violet haze.
The march of the holy begins to thrum.
History is breathing a heavier breath. Shadows are folding in the lake of the light. We are stepping over the threshold of death into the morning that swallows the night. Glory is rising, the King is alive. Heaven is opening, mercy arise. Holy, holy, darkness must flee. The kingdom is coming in victory. Glory is rising, the bride is awake. Every chain trembles, every stone breaks. Holy, holy, and nations will see the Lord is in Rome.
Beloved, after the bride is covered, another mystery begins. She is moved. The covering is not the end of the journey. The covering protects what God is preparing, but the transfer brings what is prepared into nearness. The bride is not only sheltered from darkness, she is brought out of exile. She is not only guarded from the storm, she is carried toward the chamber. She is not only protected beneath the wing of the Redeemer, she is brought into the house, into the family, into the holy nearness of the King. This is the mystery we are entering now, the transfer of the bride. Not merely escape, not merely rescue, not merely survival, but movement from exile into belonging, from exposure into covenant shelter, from the outer place into the prepared place, from the trembling earth into the order of heaven. Because the wedding ceremony is not the same as the public marriage supper, the ceremony is intimate, covenantal, and connected to the end of exile. The public supper comes later as the visible celebration of a union already established. But before the public celebration, there is a transfer. The bride must be brought near. From covering to transfer. Beloved, in the last teaching, we spoke about the covering of the bride, how the Lord covers what belongs to him, how he shelters what is precious, and how he places his bride under his wing, his shadow, his cloud, and his glory. And for those who are entering this study for the first time, this is the simple foundation. In Scripture, God does not leave what is wholly exposed. He covers before he reveals. He shelters before he presents. He guards before he brings forth. But the covering is not the end of the journey. The covering prepares the bride for the next movement. The bride is not only covered, she is transferred. This is the mystery we are entering now. The Lord covers what he is about to move. He covers what he is about to bring near. He covers what he is about to carry out of one order and into another. This is why the transfer of the bride must not be understood only as a physical movement. It is spiritual, covenantal, heavenly, and relational. It is a movement of belonging. It is the crossing from one dominion into another. It is the passage from exile into family. It is the movement from distance into nearness. The bride is not merely taken away from something, she is brought to someone. This is why Exodus speaks with such tenderness when the Lord tells Israel, I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. He does not only say, I brought you out of Egypt. He says, I brought you to myself. That is the heart of transfer. The bride is not transferred merely from danger. She is transferred into the presence of the beloved. From Egypt to myself. Beloved, one of the deepest patterns of transfer is found in the Exodus. Israel's deliverance was not only about leaving Egypt, it was about being brought to the Lord. Egypt was not merely a location. Egypt was a system of bondage, false ownership, forced labor, and spiritual oppression. The people had been treated as servants of Pharaoh, but the Lord declared that they belonged to him. So the Exodus was a transfer of ownership. Pharaoh said, they are mine. The Lord said, let my people go. Egypt said, they exist to build for me. The Lord said, they are my treasured possession. This is why the transfer of the bride is so powerful. It is not only a change of place. It is a change of authority. She is removed from the claim of the oppressor and brought under the covenant claim of the king. And beloved, this connects beautifully with the ancient wedding mystery. A bride is not simply moved from one place to another. She is brought into a new household. She comes under a name, a covering, a promise, and a future. The transfer is not a random movement. It is a covenant transition. The bride is not wandering. She is being brought. She is not fleeing without direction. She is being carried toward the one who has called her. This is why the Lord says, I brought you to myself. That sentence is full of bridal beauty. The destination is not only a land. The destination is nearness. The destination is not only about safety. The destination is covenant union. The destination is not only freedom from Pharaoh. The destination belongs to the Lord. And this is why the transfer must follow the covering. The bride cannot carry the old bondage into the holy chamber. She cannot bring Egypt's fear into the king's house. She cannot bring Babylon's garments into the wedding mystery. She must be separated, washed, covered, and then brought near. The transfer ends the former claim. The transfer breaks the false ownership. The transfer declares that exile does not have the final word. Transferred from darkness into the kingdom beloved, the apostolic witness gives us this same mystery in another language. We are told that God has delivered us from the authority of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his beloved Son. That word is powerful. Transferred. Not only forgiven, not only comforted, not only instructed, transferred. That means there has been a change of realm, a change of kingdom, a change of authority, a change of covering, a change of identity. The bride cannot be understood only by what she left behind. She must understand where she has been brought. She has been transferred from darkness into the kingdom, from accusation to mercy, from exile into belonging, from the outer place of fear into the nearness of covenant love, from the authority of the oppressor into the household of the Son. And this is why the bride must learn not to live as though she is still under the former dominion. If she has been transferred, she must no longer let Egypt name her. If she has been transferred, she must no longer let Babylon dress her. If she has been transferred, she must no longer let fear govern her lamp. If she has been transferred, she must no longer ask the old world to explain her future. The transfer means the bride now belongs to another order. This is why the children of exile must understand God's mercy. Exile is not the end of the story. Exile is the condition from which God gathers his own. The Lord does not merely visit his people in exile to comfort them there forever. He visits them to bring them home. He remembers, he gathers, he carries, he transfers. The bride is the one who is moved from displacement into divine placement, and this is where the wedding ceremony begins to come into view. The transfer is not yet the public feast before all nations. It is the sacred movement toward the intimate covenant event, the heavenly family moment, the place where exile ends and nearness is established. The public marriage supper will have its own witness, but the transfer belongs to the way into the chamber. The chamber and the end of exile. Beloved, this is where we must be careful and precise. The wedding ceremony and the marriage. Supper of the Lamb are not the same event. There may be a heavenly celebration connected to the wedding ceremony because heaven rejoices when covenant fulfillment arrives. But that heavenly celebration should not be confused with the later public celebration called the marriage supper of the Lamb. The wedding ceremony is intimate, covenantal, and belongs to the closest family of the groom and bride. It is connected to the end of exile. The marriage supper is the wider public celebration that follows, rejoicing in a union already established. And this helps us understand the transfer of the bride. The bride is transferred toward the wedding ceremony, toward the intimate covenant moment, toward the chamber of nearness, toward the end of exile among the children of exile and their heavenly family. This is not a fear-based disappearance. This is covenant restoration. This is the Lord bringing his own into the place prepared for them. This is why the language of the chamber matters. In Scripture and ancient wedding imagery, the chamber is not a public marketplace. It is a place of intimacy, covenant, and holy nearness. It is not for the crowd. It is for the covenant family. It is the place where the bride belongs to the bridegroom in a way the public has not yet fully seen. The chamber is not the supper. The chamber comes before the public celebration. The chamber is the place of nearness. The supper is the place of public rejoicing. So the transfer of the bride is a movement toward the chamber. It is a movement toward the family of heaven. It is a movement toward the end of exile. It is the Lord saying, come away, come near, come into the place prepared. And beloved, this is why the bride must be ready before the transfer. The transfer is not random. It is not careless. It is not open to every voice that merely claims to love the bridegroom. The wise virgins had oil, the faithful had garments, the call had responded, the ready entered. This is solemn and beautiful at the same time, because the transfer is mercy, but it is also holy. Rise up, my love, and come away. Now, the Song of Songs gives us one of the most beautiful echoes of this mystery. Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. That is transfer language. It is not only affection, it is a summons. The beloved calls the bride to rise. He calls her to leave one state and enter another. He calls her from waiting into movement. He calls her from winter into spring. He calls her from a distance into nearness. Rise up means she cannot remain where she was. Come away means the beloved himself is drawing her. This is not the voice of fear. This is not the voice of panic. This is not the voice of the world collapsing. This is the voice of love calling the bride into the appointed movement. And this is very important. The bride is not transferred by fear. She is transferred by obedience to the voice of the beloved. Many may see darkness and panic. Many may see shaking and run. Many may hear rumors and become confused. But the bride listens for one voice. She knows that the transfer is not governed by chaos. It is governed by the bridegroom. She does not move because the world is screaming. She moves because the beloved calls. This is why the bride must know his voice before the hour of transfer. She must know the voice that says, come away. She must know the voice that says, enter in. She must know the voice that says, arise. She must know the voice that says, the time has come. Because if she does not know his voice, she may mistake panic for prophecy, fear for urgency, or confusion for instruction. But the bride who has been covered knows the voice beneath the covering. She has heard him in the secret place. She has learned him under the shadow. She has kept oil in the lamp. She has washed her garment. She has refused the mixture. So when he calls, she knows. The transfer is not chaos. The transfer is recognition. The bride hears the bridegroom, and she rises. Ruth, from the threshing floor to the house beloved, Ruth gives us another tender pattern of transfer. Ruth begins in loss, widowhood, and displacement. She is not originally standing in the house's security. She comes from Moab with Naomi, enters Bethlehem in humility, labors in the field, gleans among the poor, and slowly draws near to the Redeemer's household. Her journey is a journey from exile into belonging, from foreignness into covenant mercy, from gleaning at the edge of the field to being received by the Redeemer, from the threshing floor into the house. At the threshing floor, she asks Boaz to spread his wing over her. This is the covering. But the story does not end with the covering. The covering leads to transfer. Boaz acts as a redeemer. The matter is settled at the gate. Ruth is brought into the house. Her name becomes part of David's lineage. That is not only personal restoration, it is a covenant placement. Ruth is not merely protected for one night. She is transferred into the inheritance. This is so important for the bride. The Lord does not cover her only to leave her at the threshing floor forever. The threshing floor is a place of testing, separation, humility, and surrender, but the Redeemer does not abandon her there. The covering becomes the beginning of her movement into the house. The bride is covered at the threshing floor. Then she is brought into the house of the Redeemer. And in that house, exile is answered, loneliness is answered, shame is answered, barrenness is answered, displacement is answered. The transfer completes what the covering began. This is why Ruth is so precious in this series. Her story shows that the bride is not forced into visibility. She is brought through righteous order. Boaz does not take her secretly in a way that violates the covenant. He goes to the gate. He acts lawfully. He redeems openly. He brings her in with honor. The bride is transferred by righteousness, not by ambition, not by confusion, not by unlawful taking, not by self-promotion, by the Redeemer who has the right to redeem. The child caught up to God and his throne beloved. Now we come to Revelation 12, and we must approach it with reverence. There is a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars upon her head. She is in travail. A dragon stands ready to devour what is brought forth. But the child is caught up to God and to his throne. This is transfer language at the highest level. The dragon waits below. The throne receives above. The danger is real. But the transfer is higher than the danger. The child is not left exposed to the dragon's mouth. The child is caught up to God and his throne. And after this, the woman is given a place prepared by God in the wilderness. So the passage carries both throne transfer and wilderness covering. There is danger below, but there is divine movement, divine place, divine protection, and divine appointment. This is why Revelation 12 belongs in this teaching, not as a fearful spectacle, but as a heavenly pattern. What belongs to God cannot be devoured when God has appointed it for his throne. The dragon may rage, but the throne is higher. The earth may tremble, but heaven has authority. The wilderness may appear, but God prepares a place. The woman may be pursued, but she is not forgotten. The transfer reveals that heaven acts before the enemy can finish his intent. And beloved, this is a powerful comfort for the children of exile. The adversary may watch the moment of birth, the moment of transition, the moment of divine fulfillment. But the Lord has already prepared a higher movement. He knows how to carry what belongs to him beyond the reach of the devourer. This is not only an escape. This is enthronement language. This is not only a rescue from danger. This is a movement toward God and his throne, and that is why the bride must not interpret the hour only by the dragon's rage. She must interpret it by the throne's authority. Brought to the King's Psalm, Psalm 45, gives us another layer. The bride is brought to the king. She does not simply appear. She is brought. This matters. The bride's entrance is not disorderly. It is ceremonial. It is royal. It is appointed. She is brought in embroidered garments. She is brought with gladness and rejoicing. She enters the palace of the king. That is transfer language. From preparation into procession, from garment into presentation, from covering into royal nearness, from exile into the palace. And again, this belongs to the wedding ceremony layer before the public celebration. The bride is brought to the king in a royal, sacred, intimate covenant moment. This is not the whole world sitting at the public supper yet. This is the bride being brought into the king's own house. Psalm 45 does not merely show admiration from a distance. It shows movement into the palace. The bride is not left outside admiring the king. She is brought in. This is why the transfer of the bride is such a beautiful mystery. It is not enough to say she is chosen. She must be brought. It is not enough to say she is covered. She must be presented. It is not enough to say she is prepared. She must enter. The transfer is the passage from preparation to presentation, and the daughters, companions, and attendants in the psalm show that the bride's movement has a family dimension. There are those who accompany. There are those who rejoice. There is a royal house. There is a sacred order. There is gladness around the entrance. This preserves the distinction. First, the bride is brought into the king's nearness. Later, the public celebration unfolds in its appointed place. The transfer is the end of exile. Beloved, this is the heart of the teaching. The transfer of the bride is the end of exile. Exile means distance, displacement, and longing. Transfer means nearness, divine placement, and arrival. Exile means the bride has not yet fully entered the house. Transfer means the Redeemer has come to bring her home. This does not mean every public promise has already unfolded. It does not mean the public supper has already been displayed before all. It means the intimate covenant movement has begun. It means the bride is brought into the family place, the prepared place, the heavenly place, the place where exile no longer defines her. And this is why the transfer is so tender. The children of exile know what it means to wait. They know what it means to long for home. They know what it means to live between promise and fulfillment. They know what it means to carry a song from Zion while still feeling the ache of distance. But the transfer says, the distance will not last forever. The exile will not be endless. The waiting will not be wasted. The covering was not abandoned. The chamber has been prepared. The bridegroom has not forgotten. The family of heaven is not unaware. The appointed hour comes when the bride is brought near. So, beloved, the transfer is not only about where the bride goes. It is about who receives her. She is received by the King. She is received by the Redeemer. She is received by the heavenly family. She is received into the prepared place. She is received into the end of exile. And when she is received, the old story loses its authority. Egypt cannot claim her. Babylon cannot name her. The wilderness cannot keep her. The threshing floor cannot hold her. The dragon cannot devour what God has appointed to his throne. The bride is transferred because she belongs to the King. So, beloved, after the covering comes the transfer. The Lord does not cover the bride to leave her unseen forever. He covers her to prepare her, prepares her to move her, and moves her to bring her near. And when he brings her near, exile begins to lose its authority. Egypt cannot claim her, Babylon cannot name her, the wilderness cannot keep her. The threshing floor cannot hold her. The dragon cannot devour what God has appointed to his throne. The bride is transferred because she belongs to the king. And this transfer is not governed by fear. It is governed by a covenant. It is not panic that moves her. It is the voice of the beloved. It is not the collapse of the world that defines her destiny. It is the faithfulness of the king. She is brought from darkness into kingdom, from the field into the house, from the threshing floor into inheritance, from the wilderness into the prepared place, from longing into nearness, from exile toward the wedding ceremony. And when the public marriage supper comes in its appointed time, it will not create the union. It will celebrate what the king has already fulfilled. So let the bride listen for the voice that says, "Rise up, my love, and come away." Let her keep oil in the lamp. Let her keep the garment clean. Let her remain under the covering. Let her prepare for the movement of God, because the bride is not only covered, she is called, she is carried, she is transferred, she is brought near. And what was once in exile will be received into the joy of the king. Thank you, family, for being here. If this teaching helped you, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps this message reach those who are seeking. To our new subscribers, welcome. And if you'd like to go deeper, we invite you to join as a member. The link is in the description and on our homepage. We are praying for you and standing with you in the light of Messiah, He and Messiah, She. If you'd like to support the ministry, you can visit our store or bless our dear brother Michael via the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below, which also includes a link to our second store with new designs. Thank you for your love and encouragement, and stay tuned for the next video. May the spirit of wisdom and peace rest upon you always.